All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sports Basement's Outside In event. Tonight, we are very excited. We have Don Seto, pack expert and brand rep for Osprey, who's going to go over basically the ins and outs and everything you need to know to make the most out of your backpacking trips into the wilderness. He's going to go over how to fit a pack, like the different packs that you can use for different lengths. Um, Everything you need to know. And of course, if you have any questions, specific questions, by all means, please put them in the chat bar. We'll get to them at the end. I apologize for the mask, by the way. I am working in the store today, so being safe. If you have been to our stores recently, we obviously require that everyone wears a mask. So appreciate you bearing with me, but don't worry. Don's going to be the main feature here. You won't have to see me much longer. Um, I am going to go in here. I would like to mention our beneficiary for the month of September is Latino Outdoors. So we've been raising money for them. You may have seen the donation thing in the Eventbrite. If you didn't donate there and you are interested in donating, you can go to their website at latinooutdoors.org and donate to them. They're a great organization. Their mission is to inspire, connect, and engage Latino communities in the outdoors and embrace a cultura y familia as part of the outdoor narrative, ensuring that their history, heritage, and leadership are valued and represented. So they're doing a lot of great things in the Bay Area. Definitely check them out. They have a lot of events, typically, obviously not right now, but when things do happen, when COVID is lifted, they do a bunch of like camping, backpacking, climbing, just great outdoor events. Additionally, next month, our beneficiary is going to be Outdoor Afro, and we have a lot of great events coming up. We have a trail running on October 1st with Ultra, and their founder and trail runner Golden Harper is going to, fascinating person, very intelligent, knows all about the science behind running. We have hiking with Meryl, with Myrna, the Mirnovator Valerio. You may have seen her on Instagram. She is going to be a great person as well. We've got Patagonia Provisions, noon, and then we're wrapping it all up with a gravel biking session with professional athletes Allison Tetrick, Payson McKelveen, and Yuri Halverson. And so definitely stick around and come back for those. Once again, if you do have any questions, by all means, please enter them in the chat bar. I'll make sure that Don gets to as many as he can at the end. And without further ado, I'm going to spotlight Don's screen right now and mute myself so you don't have to hear my voice anymore. Don, go ahead and take it away.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Don, as Austin had mentioned. I am the brand rep for Osprey, as well as Big Agnes and a couple other great outdoor brands. What I want to go over today are some of the things that will help enhance your experience out in the wilderness. So if you guys have any questions, please make sure you use that chat bar, and Austin will get that to me. If it's something urgent, he could always stop me, and I'm fine with that. So if you guys are good, we're going to get underway with kind of getting a start on the most important thing when you're out in the wilderness, wanting to enjoy that maybe one weekend trip you get to do outside, is making sure your gear fits properly. I'm actually a proponent of making sure that your gear is fitting to what your body type is and what you're going to be doing, much more so than focusing on brand. So if you've ever seen me in a store helping out some of the store staff, you'll actually see me selling not only Osprey packs, but I'll actually, I work with other brand packs. It's really all about making sure that that product or that backpack fits you well in the wilderness. Because if most of us get out maybe 1-2 weekends a year, and you want to be comfortable and enjoy that experience. So the most important thing is figuring out what your torso length is. You can go into any of your outdoor stores. You'll find a device like this and get one of the experts to measure you out. And the things that we're looking at is your C7, which is that big bump right here, and that iliac crest, or that shelf. A lot of people, when people ask you, hey, show me your shelf, show me your iliac crest or your hips, people always point to this point up front. We actually care about the point up here. And if you could see where my fingers are, I'm touching my thumb on the front of my hips, but I'm touching the top of my iliac crest with my forefingers of my right hand. And you notice those are actually pretty significantly different spots. So that's what you want to really make sure you're getting how many inches your torso is and figure out what size you are. Within fit, the other thing that's really critical is your body type. Whether or not that means you're tall and broad-shouldered, or you're short and you're super skinny, or you're thick-chested, or you're wide-hipped or wide-shouldered. All of those things will help guide you and that expert you're working with towards the right size pack or right type of pack for you. And then what you want to do is kind of figure out, I would say brands have some characteristics on fit. Some packs within a brand will fit you better than others. But generally speaking, you're going to have kind of a fit profile based on the type of pack you're looking at. And the other thing that you're going to get from looking at your body type and your torso length is it's going to help guide the direction on what kind of suspension will work best for you. I'm going to show you, there's 3 basic types of suspensions. There's a fixed suspension. So if you look at this Exos, which is one of our lighter weight packs, this is actually fixed suspension. The suspension here is sewn on to the body of the pack. The hip belt is sewn on. So this is actually a non-adjustable pack. So if you are, say, super skinny but super tall with a long torso, or the opposite of that, this may not be the right pack for you because you can't do any type of adjustment. And then you have packs that are adjustable, which means that you can actually move the suspension parts. So you can actually expand the hip belts, and you could actually move the shoulder straps up and down to actually meet make sure they fit your body properly. However, if you typically are either, again, really thin and really long torso or something like that, even an adjustable pack may not fit you ideally. And then you've got the packs that are considered customizable, where meaning that it is adjustable in length, whether or not that means you can adjust the hip belt and shoulder straps, or actually some packs will have replacement parts where you can interchange those parts to actually get you that dialed in fit for yourself. So that's where we're going to talk about fit. I don't know if there are any questions. Hey, Austin, do you want to stop real quick to see if there's any fit questions before I move on to things like volume?
Yeah, so I have a couple questions here about weight for packs, which maybe you're going to get
that one I'll wait, because I'm going to go into the weights, the pack weights later, and so hopefully I'll address that. But I think I saw a thing about fitting.
Yeah, I do have one here. It says, like, when should you get fitted? Do I need it for a day hike if I'm carrying a 24-liter backpack? Would you recommend? So basically, would you recommend getting fitted for a good day pack as well? Overnight?
Not so. If you're doing more of a day trip, getting fitted isn't quite as critical, because you're probably not going to have more than, say, 10, maybe 15 pounds in that pack. So getting that ideal fit isn't as critical. But getting the right size, because many packs are, some packs you're going to have a one size fits all, or one size fits most, I like to say. And you're going to have some that have a fit range, like a small, medium, or a medium large or something like that. So it's still good to get at least figure out what your torso length and figure that out, and then look at your body type, and again, some will fit better than others. So I would say still go ahead and get fitted or measured.
Cool. That's I think that's all we got for weight, right?
Okay,
Or for
cool.
fit right now. So yeah.
Okay. So then so the next thing about as far as getting that ideal pack for you is looking at the volume that you'll need. So whether or not, and one of the two most critical things about the need for various volumes are the trip length. So if you're going for an overnighter, you may be able to go with actually even a good sized day pack, like a 30-liter day pack or a 40-liter day pack, which is a little big on the bigger end, a larger side for a day pack. But if you're going for a full weekend, which is what most of us do, we were all, well, maybe not during COVID, but most of us really work 9-to-5 jobs. We get Friday, we take off, get on the trailhead, maybe Friday night, Saturday all day, and then you're coming back to your car on Sunday, which is your typical trip for most individuals. And then you have individuals that are going to be doing, 5 to 7 day trips. So those could take significantly different volumes. I would say in general, and this is generalizing, an overnight trip, again, you could do it probably under 50 liters and less. A weekend, I would say you're probably looking at 50 to 65 liters. And if you're doing a 5 to 7 day, you may actually need 65 to 70 liters and somewhere in that range. But the other type of thing that would impact the volume, the need for various volumes, is your individual style. So, are you a person that feels the need to have everything with you? Are you okay? So basically, you need to be super comfortable, have everything. Also, are you on the opposite end of that spectrum? Are you a minimalist? You're gonna cut that toothbrush in half so you're carrying less weight. Are you gonna take that toothpaste and dot it on wax paper and let it dry and carry very little? Are you only gonna carry you're going to do the smart water bottle as opposed to an Nalgene bottle or reservoir, things like that. So your individual style is going to dictate a lot. The other thing is whether or not I always tell people not to buy for this first trip you're doing. If you're just getting into it, buy based on what you want your backpacking experience to be after you've actually started doing this and got more experience. So if you are doing overnighters today at Point Reyes, but you have visions of doing either the High Sierra Trail or maybe portions of the JMT or the entirety of the JMT or something like that. When you get to that point, you're probably going to have, like many outdoors individuals, you're going to end up with a quiver of packs or gear. That's just the nature of that. But starting out, you don't necessarily want to set yourself up to have to buy multiple pieces of gear for all these different trips. And then, what is the trip type? Is this going to be a quick, comfortable trip, overnighter, 3-day, but quick and comfortable? Or are you doing what I fondly like to refer to as that sufferfest? Done many of them where the beauty of the trip is you almost during the trip it's tough and it's hard and it's a struggle, but when you come out of it and you're having that cold frothy beverage with your friends, it's the trip you talk about year in after year after year after year. It's like, oh, you remember that trip? Those are some of my most epic sufferfests are the ones that I enjoy the most now. But that's something to consider when you're looking at gear. or the volume. And again, you're looking at 50 liters and less, 50 to 65, and then that 60 to 75 or so. And you also, again, one other thing I guess I should note is, say you've got a young scout or a young family, and you're going to be going on trips like that. That's going to change it up a little bit, what you'll need in volume. So we're going to go over pack. Anything refer on that, Austin, as far as questions before I move on?
I do
We're
have,
good.
if, so you mentioned going, buying the pack for the trips that you want to go on down the road. So if you like, are there any issues, like, does it make it harder if, say, you have like a pack that's larger than what you need? So if you have like a 65 liter and you only fill it halfway because you're only doing a single night, like, is there a trick to make it like spread out the whole way? How would you recommend, like, is that something you'd recommend, or would you recommend using a completely different pack?
I I would say if I had to, I've been repping for a while, and I've been in the outdoor industry for quite a while before that. So I am one of those people that fall into the category of, I have a quiver of packs. With that said, if I had to have only one pack, it would be my Ether 70, because you could take, this is not my Ether 70, but this one is the Ether, this is the Aerial, which is the women's version of it. It's fully adjustable or customizable. But if you don't fill it up completely, and most packs will have this ability, you would actually just cinch everything nice and tight so it's up against your body. And that's the most critical thing. It will be a little heavier in general, because this is, again, customizable. So there's a little bit more bells and whistles, some more feature rich, but it will actually do just as well with a smaller volume and weight as it would a bigger one. Versus if I were to get this pack, which is just a sweet pack, it only weighs 1.5 pounds. But I can't do a 5-day trip in this, because this really is only comfortable with a capacity of about 25 pounds. So if you get the pack that's a little bit bigger, still fit is the most critical. You want to make sure that you are basically cinching everything tight up against the body. So when you load it, you're going to load it so it's kind of distributed nice and evenly across here. So you don't have a big bulge of gear here or a big bulge of gear here. You want it nice and even. So
Awesome.
hopefully that answered your question.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Don.
Okay, so pack types. I will call them heavy loaders or sturdy packs. These packs tend to be a little on the heavier side, but they typically are more feature rich. The range and weight is going to be about 4.5 pounds to 5 pounds, maybe even a tick above. So these are things like the Ether and Aerial. They've got a lot more features, fully customizable. Some of them will have features like day packs built in, rain covers built in, that you could always leave at home as far as like the rain cover. But these are designed to carry weights, heavier loads. I would say 35 pounds and heavier. So I would say somewhere between 35 pounds and 50 pounds. I'm not a proponent of 50 pounds, but sometimes you got to do that. You start out, gear can be pretty pricey, and sometimes you will buy a little bit heavier gear. But I always say buy the best gear you can afford, because you won't regret spending the extra $50 when you're on the trail and you are comfortable. So with that said, these are nice packs for loads, I would say greater than 40 pounds or 35 pounds and up. Then you have packs that are lighter weight. So these are somewhere about, somewhere in the 2.5, 3 pounds to 4 pound packs. These typically are adjustable. You've got look for features like trampolines if you have it. Trampoline is essentially keeps the pack off your back, so you have a little bit more ventilation. There are trade-offs to all that. So don't always buy on features alone. Always, again, the most important thing is fit, 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 fit. So kind of like real estate's location, location, location. Backpacks are fit, fit, fit. You know, you're going to have things like, you know, sleeping bag compartments, removable lids and things like that. Some people call this the brain. I just call it the lid. And then you have more of that ultralight to light. So this is the Exos. Again, this is about 2.5 pounds. This will carry about up to 35 pounds comfortably. I've loaded this thing up to 38 pounds. This is actually my personal pack. This one's going to have less features. It's, again, 2.5 pounds. It's going to be just the top loader. It does have a removable lid. You can cinch it up. Typically, we'll have things like, you know, bucket pockets on the outside for your most frequently used things with the lid the same. And then we have your ultralight, which is, again, this is your Levity Lumina. This is a 1.5 pounds, carries about 25 pounds comfortably. This is actually using a Dyneema type of fabric. So if you guys are familiar with that, that's that ultra lightweight. You know, a lot of those boutique tents are sold in. So this is using a similar fabric, very strong, very light, and things like that. So again, so those are different types of pack, and you got, I would say, I would have a tendency, if I only have one pack, to err on the side of getting the more robust pack that will carry every type of trip I want to go on, versus getting something very specialized like this one or this one that really will only satisfy those trips that are shorter or lighter in weight. So that's that. Let's see, any questions on the packs? I know we talked about, there was a question about weight, I think.
Yeah, so I've got 2 questions here. The first one is, what's the recommended weight carrying capacity of the Atmos 65 and the Talon 33?
So the Talon 33, I would say, puts you at about 35 pounds. And the Atmos 65 would be in the range of, I would say, 40 pounds maximum. So.
Cool. And then just a follow up to that, which men's weekender backpack would you recommend for about 35 pounds of gear? This person is looking for a lighter alternative to his Atmos 65.
If this fits you properly, this Exos is a perfect pack for 35 pounds. I've packed it to 38 pounds on the first day, knowing I'm going to eat down about a pound or 2 of food. So I'm right in the range by that second morning. But this, however, one thing that could potentially make this pack not right for you if it doesn't fit properly. So, and that's one of those critical things on this one. But if it fits your body type, this is a great pack for exactly what you're looking for. That weekend, 35 pounds and less. It's very versatile. Now it is not feature rich. It is really a top loader, so there's no sleeping bag compartment, but it does have removable lid and things like that. So. And there are, of course, other brands that have great packs as well in that category. So if this one doesn't fit you, but if you are looking for a lighter weight, you are likely to be going into a fixed suspension to get that lightweight. But if you're willing to sacrifice another pound to get to a 3.5 pound tent, or I'm sorry, backpack, there are definitely alternatives for you on that as well.
Is there an ideal ratio in terms of body weight to backpack weight?
Yeah, I would say I think it's there's ranges for different ages. If you are an adolescent or a youth, I would say you shouldn't carry more than about 10% of your weight. Just if your bones are growing and they're not fused yet, you really don't want to have that too. You don't want weight bearing on growing skeletal structure. Now, if you're an adult, full-grown adult of, you know, then I would say comfortably 20% of your body weight is usually pretty comfortable. And then beyond that, you go up to 25%, 30%. It becomes more of a trudge and less enjoyable the further you get away from that 20% ideal weight. So that's not to say if you're 300 pounds, you can comfortably carry 60 pounds, because 60 pounds doesn't feel good no matter what. So, it's going to be one of those personal things, but it also might mean that if you're very new to backpacking, um, just like if you were new to running or cycling, there are certain muscles that get used more than others, so you may have to work those muscles out a little bit more and just get used to the weight. I guarantee you, if I haven't backpacked in 2 months, which is, if I haven't backpacked in a month, I'm kind of crying a little bit because I haven't been out in 2 months. Um, but that first day with the weight on my body, it's not comfortable. So you just got to you get used to that discomfort. There's discomfort and there's pain. You should not be in pain. That means something's not fitting right.
Cool. Yeah, I think we can all relate to the first backpacking trip of the season. Your shoulders are barking after a few miles on them.
Exactly, exactly. Um, so one of the things I want to go over with people is how to actually put your pack on. So if your pack is fully loaded, I like to loosen all the straps. Um, and then these are your hip belts, your shoulder straps, your load lifters, which is kind of not an accurate term for them. They're actually stabilizers. But when you actually pick up your pack, it's preferable to carry it from um, this this uh, this this handle on the pack. And then if it's really heavy, I like to put it, you won't be able to see my leg, but I kind of bend down a little bit and rest this on let me bring this down. I rest this down on my thigh here, and then I pull this through, and then slide that through. So you notice that this is all nice and loose. And what I do is make sure that to neutralize that weight off my back, I lean forward. That basically keeps the load from pulling me back, which if any of you have put on a backpack that's fully loaded, you notice that it kind of just wants to pull you back. So what I do is kind of get this nice and situated, get that nice and even, and look in the mirror when you're doing this at home. You'll notice when you're standing up straight, you'll notice that sometimes you may see that if you notice that this shoulder looks lower than that one, that's because I've got, we're not all even. So everything is actually fairly relaxed on your belt except your hip belts. This one should go across your belly button. 98% of people, their belly button is level with that shelf or that iliac crest I was talking about where you got measured. So what I always tell people is, and when I fit people, I usually take this and I crank it. No matter what your body physique is, you're gonna muffin top. And that's just the way it is, because if you don't muffin top, what we're looking for is we're looking for this hip belt to actually curve over that shelf that your hip has, and then it'll actually support that weight. A lot of veteran backpackers, you'll see, and I'm going to get a little sexist here. A lot of guys like to wear their packs really low, kind of where their belt line is, and you'll see people on the trail like this. And I know I can't get a show of hands, but if you've ever been on the trail and you've seen a belt really low, or you've seen an individual hiking or trudging, and they're basically pulling their sternum strap, and what they're doing is they're kind of just trudging on the trail. They're trying to get that weight off their shoulders, and generally the reason for that is this is too low. If you bring it up nice and tight, nice and high, and it's surprisingly high. So my belly button is right here, and I've cranked it, and sadly, my wife will say I'm eating too much, but this is my little muffin top, which is fine. And then this gets adjusted gently. And what I'm looking for is this should wrap around my shoulders nicely. And this is your oh, I can't remember, but you're basically the back of your shoulder, your scapula. So you want to attach around your scapula here. And then you're gonna just gently here. You don't want to crank this like this. You want everything fairly gently. So you could do this and then your load stabilizer. So if you pull this load stabilizer and this darts up, that means your pack is either not adjusted right. Of course, I don't have any weight in it, so this might have pulled up, but that's how you want to go. So you kind of want to go from the bottom up. So this is a good fitting pack. This is not adjustable, and this is my pack, so it should fit well. And that's kind of how you want this to fit. You want this to fit close to your body. And that's not to say that while you're on the trail, you're not going to sometimes like, okay, I'm going to loosen this, let my shoulders take a little bit more of bear more of the weight. But you really only want about 5 to 10% of the weight on your shoulders. So again, cranked nicely. You should be able to talk. Again, this is a light adjustment, and this is a light adjustment. This is the only one that's cranked. And ideally, my armpits are here. The end of this strap should fit at least 3 inches away from your armpits. And you should have at least 3 fingers of webbing on each side to here. So that means, and this hip belt should be about 2 fingers, and at least 2 fingers in front of your hip bone. So that's some of the fit parameters you want to be aware of when you're trying on packs. And I recommend people not try on too many in the same day, because it's just super confusing when you try on too many in a day. It's like putting on a bunch of shoes. They all just start feeling the same. And make sure you're walking around the store with weight in it. And with that weight, make sure it's the same weight in the same configuration. So you're comparing apples to apples, because I can make one pack fit much more comfortably than another pack if I want it to. That's why you always want to make sure they've configured it the same way. You know, the most dense one on towards the bottom or towards the middle, or how you fit it. So. Any questions on putting on the pack or wearing the pack? At Osprey, we like to think about it as wearing the pack versus carrying the pack, because you basically are. You're basically wearing it because it's actually becoming almost a part of you. So, any questions on?
Don't look like we have any questions right now. I do have a couple points. Steven just mentioned that as long as you're not soloing, you can always obviously have your fellow backpacker help you with lifting and putting on the pack.
Absolutely.
Which is a big thing. I know personally, I've also used like logs and rocks sometimes.
Yep.
You kind of, you know, so there's
Absolutely.
definitely do it. Also, if you shop at any of our sports basement stores and you're looking for a pack, we do have weights, like Don was
Yes, they do.
mentioning. So And I mean, and most outdoor stores carry it as well. You know, it's obviously not just sports basement. So make sure that if you are looking at packs that you, as Don mentioned, you put some in there and you test them out, because that is vital. Um, I do have a question. This is a personal question.
Yeah.
If so the hip belts, if the pads sometimes they can get a lot. I mean, I wonder if my hip belt's too big, but the pads will get really close to touching. Is that a problem, or because you mentioned having it about 2 fingers space in front of the hips at least?
It can be a problem. If you're getting a good lock, then it might not be a problem. But if you've ever gone on more than 2, 3 day trips and you know, I've actually lost inches in temporarily, of course, lost inches in my waist during a trip. So at the beginning of the trip, if it's close to being maxed out or maxed out as yours sounds like they might be, it's fine. But towards the middle of the trip, I'm cinching it as tight as it'll go, but it's starting to slide because it's not locking in. So it could mean that it's the pack is a little bit too big, or that aspect of the pack is too big.
Cool. And then just going off of that, so would you recommend like refitting, like let's say you hike in, so you hike in 12 miles, you spend 2 nights, and then you're getting ready to hike out, or you've done, even if you're doing 5 days or something, would you recommend like refitting it before you do the big trek out, because of something like that may have changed in that amount of time?
So every time you take off your pack, whether it's stopping to just take that afternoon break or a little siesta or getting water, I always loosen up all my belts when I take it off. And then when I put it back on, I just cinch it. Because what ends up happening is a lot of times I'll see people when they take off their belt, it's been like this all day. So they pop it off, drop the pack, they put it back on, and they don't loosen these. So what they're doing is they're sucking in their gut, trying to get their hand in there and locking it that way. I exaggerated it, but it didn't look like a very comfortable process of getting the pack back on. So I just loosen everything, and I don't loosen this fully, but I loosen it a little bit so I can get my arms through it pretty easily. So, but if you loosen this nicely, because this one's you're going to crank, you're going to bring this up, and then you're just going to readjust it where it is, because it may be in a slightly different spot, because sometimes it gets, it gets a little uncomfortable after 4 days. Sometimes it's not always the most comfortable. So yeah, so I would adjust it after every single time I use it. And now I don't. If I had a pack that is adjustable, truly adjustable, I don't move anything here. I am just putting this back on and adjusting it to where it is, because I might have a jacket on now, or I might have taken the jacket off. So it's going to fit a little bit differently.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to talk about how to pack a pack. Do you have that image that you could put on, or do you want me to put it on mine?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to send it. So if you want to, if you can post it up, maybe that might be good. And just for everyone that's on here, I will also include it in our follow-up email, so you will have this moving forward.
Okay, let me grab that one. Sorry for the delay, folks, and having to look at my ugly mug so closely. All right, folks, do you guys see this? Austin, do you see that? Yeah?
Yep, yeah, you're good.
Okay,
It's
cool.
up.
All right, so this is how to pack a pack. Now, when I say how to pack a pack, it's where to put everything. So you're gonna generally pack from the top. You're gonna pack from the top of your pack down. So if you look at what you're gonna put at the bottom of your pack is gonna be that medium density stuff, your sleeping bag, your sleeping pad. I would put your sleep clothes, the stuff you're gonna need at camp, but you're not gonna need throughout your day of hiking. And anything else you don't need until you get to camp. I always put at the bottom of my tent, my sleeping bag, my sleeping pad. I will put my bear can, and I carry a bear can on every trip because I find it to be an easier in the evenings. I could have a late night snack without having to worry about hanging my food later or messing around with that. And then close to that body, so again, close to that body to not affect that center of gravity or get you the closest, best center of gravity is going to be your heavier gear. That's going to be your cook set. You're going to put your reservoir if you're using a hydration reservoir. Again, I put my tent on the bottom, and how I do my tent is I actually I take the poles and the stakes out of my tent, and then I wad it up as a ball on the bottom, and then most packs will have a side pocket, and I put my tent poles and stakes on the side here. I carry a smart water bottle over an Nalgene, and I put that on the side. But I do carry a reservoir because I think you hydrate better when it's very convenient to actually just drink from a tube right in front of your face versus to either having to reach back or ask your partner to help get the bottle for you. So being properly hydrated and getting the nutrients in you is one of the most critical things to having a pleasant adventure. So I try to do it where I actually drink around every 15 minutes, more as a discipline versus waiting for me to be thirsty. Because if you wait for yourself to be thirsty, you're actually already dehydrated some. So anyway, again, cookware, your food was going to go more in the center here. And then at the top, what you're going to put on in your lid or at the top is all the stuff that you're going to need right away. Lip balm, maybe a first aid kit, sunscreen, your snack. And if you don't have a bucket pocket on the outside like this pack has, I would put maybe a light shell up here. But what I normally put in my bucket pocket, if you have one, is a shell, my water treatment system, and maybe your sanitation stuff like your trowel, your TP, and things like that. Because when you gotta go, you gotta go. So the other thing I do want to mention as far as being in the wilderness, and a lot of people don't love this, is please pack out your TP because when we bury TP, when we go in the woods, animals like to dig it up, but they don't want the toilet paper, so that gets around the wilderness. So TP should be packed out. I have friends that don't use TP. I'm not that hardcore. I like TP. So, but pack it out, just put it in a plastic bag. And if you want, you could actually, or I've used a Ziploc bag with a cotton ball dipped in bleach, and that helps with any offensive odors that you might be worried about. And double bag it if it's an issue. But yeah, please, I'm a huge proponent of packing out your TP, and that's actually one of the regulations. And again, 70 and 75 steps from any water source. So that's about 100 feet. So 75 steps. Any questions on how to pack it? Ideally, when you pack it well in a balanced manner, if you put your pack down on the ground, it can actually very often stand up on its own. So if you see it, when you put it down on the ground and it falls forward, it tends to mean that it's a little top heavy and either, it's not as neutral. Don't fret over it if it doesn't stand up on its own, but when it stands up on its own, that means you've got it pretty dialed in as far as it's a very well-centered distribution of gear. So.
One question for you, Don. So some packs have they have straps, like two straps on the bottom of the pack, and I've seen people use that for like sleeping pads or tents, or is that what they're intended for? Would you suggest putting a tent or like a, if you don't have a compressible sleeping bag down there, or what would you recommend using those for?
So these are going to be for things like sleeping pads or tents. That's pretty much what these were designed for. Or what I do is, although what I say is I'm an ultra light comfort camper. That means I carry a chair with me. I carry I carry a lot of creature comforts, but I still stay within typically 30 pounds almost no matter what size my trip is. But these are typically for your sleeping pad or your tent. Ideally, if you can, one of the considerations I usually say is uh, you should, generally speaking, you should be able to fit 100% of your gear inside your pack about 80% of your trips. So, so if you have if you go on 3 trips a year, and one occasionally you have to, it's a little longer. You've got to have your sleeping bag or your sleeping pad or your tent on the outside. That's not bad. But if you are constantly strapping stuff to the outside, the weight difference from a 65 liter to a 70 liter is probably 4 ounces. It's best to get everything on the inside when you can, because the pack, again, was designed to be worn, even when fully expanded, with a certain center of gravity. When you start strapping stuff to the outside, especially things that have a little bit more density to it, it will change that center of gravity on your body. So you'll find people that do that on the trail more often than not, leaning forward hiking, because they're trying to compensate for the pack pulling back. You want to be able to, for the most part, walk pretty much straight, and have that pack not pulling on you so much. So
Cool. And then one more question here. What size do you use, a 450 or a 550 bear canister, and where does that go in your pack in relation to your well, I guess if your tent goes on the outside, where would you do you usually typically include your bear canister?
that is a great segue, because I have a notch on my little outline that I want to go over. For other considerations, if you're going to need a bear can, or you're going to carry a full bear can, which is the BV 500 or the BV 450, which is you're doing the bear vault or the Garcia or what have you, the barricade or something like that. I always carry my bear can on the inside, and I bear can right above my sleeping bag, tent, and that. So that basically is what goes right up against the center of my back. That's going to, and depending on the pack I'm using, I like to, let me grab a bear can. I like to put it in sideways. So I put mine in sideways, across, and I always take out my days, my hiking days worth of food, and put that either in my bucket pocket or in my lid, so I can get that. Or if you have a hip belt pocket, your snacks there. But I don't really need to touch this until I get to camp, because I've taken out my day's portion of food for my hiking, and that. So it goes right in the middle there. So it would be B on this chart. So again, and that's one of the things that I'm gonna actually stop sharing that. I think. So And I don't know if you were able to see me at the same time, but I always put the bear can right here, and I put my bear can when I can sideways, not upright. I don't really like it upright because then you've got to pack around it, and that's a little bit more difficult. The packs that I have always purchased I've always made considerations on being able to put my bear can horizontally. So. And some of the things that you want to consider when you're looking for a pack is also whether or not you're going to ever go solo, or you're always going to be in a group setting. And in that group setting, are you going to be self-sufficient? I've got a partner of mine that I backpack with all the time, but we both are always self-sufficient. So if one of us, for whatever reason, decides we want to spend one extra night at the lake because we're pretty experienced, we give each other the flexibility of, if he wants to stay at this lake one more night and I want to go on. We always stay completely self-sufficient, meaning I have my own cook set, my own stove, my own water treatment system, and everything like that. But if you're always going to go with someone, like say you're always going to travel with your spouse or your significant other, then you don't have to always make those considerations. But if you're going on a longer trip, you might need more gear. So how you have to kind of think about, again, long term, how are you going to manage your personal gear and potentially shared gear? Are you going to always share a tent, or are you going to have your own? Unless it's an emergency, I don't share a tent with anybody but my children or my wife. But that's I've had an emergency on Mount Shasta where I did have to share a tent with my climbing partner, just because it was stuff happens at 12,000 feet sometimes, and things like that. So any other questions?
I'm not seeing any more necessarily about packing. Everyone, remember, if you do have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat bar there. Was that the last segment that you're going to talk about? I
Yeah,
have some personal. Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got. So, for once I didn't rehearse it, and I kind of fall right into the almost hour range.
Yeah, you nailed it, Don.
Yeah.
So for you personally, where is your favorite place that you have backpacked in?
I really love Ansel Adams or Yosemite Wilderness, but anywhere along the Eastern Sierras, there's Carson Iceberg. There's just so many places. I personally prefer I like to backpack in areas above 5,000 feet, because you don't have poison oak and you don't have ticks. And those are two things. I love the wilderness. I'm not sensitive to poison oak, but I really don't enjoy it. And ticks, I don't know there's anything good about ticks. I can't think of a single good thing about ticks. So you go below about 5,000 feet and you have to deal with those two things. So I pretty much stay everywhere that's above. And again, Eastern Sierras, we're talking Ansel Adams, beautiful wilderness. I was supposed to be in Inyo Friday, but California's on fire. Go figure. So I wasn't able to go. I would have been back yesterday, actually, from that trip. But yeah, so many great wildernesses, a lot adjacent to the Yosemite Wilderness. Just so many beautiful places.
Cool. I got a good question here from Steven. He wants to know what recommendations do you have for pack repair? Like do you have any specific products that you would recommend for
So do you have any, what brand is it? And do you have a specific situation that you're addressing now? Does I don't know if you want to maybe open.
Yeah, Steven, if you want to put in like any specifics on it. we can ask that.
So just so you know, Osprey has what we call the Almighty Guarantee. We will fix or replace the product forever. So that means if you got a product and it was handed down to you from your dad or your uncle or your aunt or your mom, we will fix it or replace it. And you could just send it to us in Cortez, Colorado, and we will do a repair on it for you. But if it is something that needs repair, you know, I use things like tenacious tape for, you know, abrasions. There's a great place in Berkeley called Naraines. They will do repairs for you at a nominal fee. But there are certainly many options for repair. Depending on the repair, you know, sometimes it's from age. That just might mean, you know, your pack is done. So, or if a bear mauled it, you've got a good story, and your pack is done.
Yeah, looks like his specifically was a strap repair. Do you have any recommendations on that, or do you?
Strap repair, depending on how it is, if it's a sewn-in strap, you could probably, if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, again, Berkeley, off of Gilman and San Pablo, there's a Naraines. They can probably sew in a new strap. If it's an Osprey pack, you could just send it to us and we'll sew it in. But if it is something that is not sewn in, you could actually just, does the Sports Basement have sell webbing? If they do, any place that sells webbing, you could probably get some webbing and have that repaired.
Yeah, I think Sports Basement. I believe we carry webbing here.
Yeah, so, but yeah, you know, I've had to do a couple of repairs on some equipment here and there over the years, and they're not always pretty, but they work.
Yeah, the functions what you're going for when you're out there, you know, in the backcountry with.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it looks like 6:30 on the dot. I don't think we have any questions left here. Don, thank you so much for your time and this very informative hour that we just went through. Everyone's still here. I'm going to make sure that in our follow-up email we include Don's how to pack diagram there. We're going to have the YouTube link to the video in case you want to review it. But once again, Don, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. And hey, and everyone, just shout out. You know, I know obviously you go to the Sports Basement website. You know, you saw the class, but you know, go talk to the experts at Sports Basement. They've got a lot of knowledgeable individuals, a lot of passionate outdoors individuals. They know what they're talking about, and you know, go to your experts and pick their brain. And you know, all of us gearheads love talking about gear. So.
And I'll go on top of that. Don is a regular at our annual Camp Fest. So if you haven't been to Camp Fest before, come on out and next year or whenever it may be, because I'm almost guaranteed Don will be there, which we love having him. So
yes, I appreciate the invitation, and I always make it. So I will rearrange my schedule for you guys.
All right, love to hear that. Okay, Don, you have a great night. Everyone on, thanks for participating.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for spending the hour with me, folks. Bye-bye.